So, yet more Brexit chaos, and by now I presume more updates and shenanigans have happened. Like I say, this video will go out on Wednesday, this is filmed on a Sunday, so I presume this could be either out of date, who knows. The MPs could be back in Parliament by this time, as far as we know, so who knows. But this comes from politics.co.uk, and this is, this is completely true, and one of the things that we've talked about, a couple of weeks ago I think it was, about how Johnson will have to face reality, just like Theresa May. And it was reality that destroyed Theresa May. It took 2 years for her to essentially go, and it could be that Johnson lasts less than a year. And I think it's something like he's only had 6 days actually in Parliament under scrutiny. So, you know, so yeah. So yeah, we'll get into the article. So, Boris Johnson's moment of truth is finally upon us. Yesterday evening, the Prime Minister of Finland, which holds the EU Council rotating presidency, announced that our favourite cartoon character must submit his legal proposals to replace the backstop by the 30th of September, or it's over. The deadline provides a generous extension to Angela Merkel's provision offer of 30 days, which expires tomorrow, and allows EU leaders the necessary time to consider any new proposals before the summit on October the 17th, in which a deal must be signed off. Sadly for Johnson, this is not so much an essay crisis as a sci-fi challenge. The UK has had 3 years to come up with a system which implements different economic regimes for goods on the island of Ireland, while obtaining the need to check for any of them at the land border. It will not suddenly invent one in the next 11 days. If Johnson fails to submit a proposal to the EU will forget about signing a new deal next month. If he does submit one, it will combust the Tory conference on its first day. Not for the first time in his short but dire premiership, the Prime Minister is completely trapped in a hole of his own making. There is no replacement for the backstop, which will satisfy everyone's red lines. The government's current informal proposal of a all-island agri-goods zone, and the issue of the rest of the goods trade, will also the small matter of customs. When the UK signs its new trade deals, the EU will need to ensure that goods from third countries are not arriving in Northern Ireland in the tariff-free and then shipping to the untaxed and unregulated into the Republic of Ireland and the rest of the EU. That is why there is only one realistic solution in the time frame, is the one suggested by Brussels from the start. A Northern Ireland only backstop. This is the only deal Ireland will agree to. It is the only deal ready to sign off, and it is the only deal that comes close to solving Johnson's predicament. Sadly for the Prime Minister, this deal will also destroy him. The NI-only backstop works for Johnson because he doesn't care about Northern Ireland or the DUP. He does care about delivering Brexit and signing new trade deals. If Northern Ireland were to stay in the EU's customs union and single market for goods, global Britain could buccaneer across the sea to its heart's content, while Dublin became the de facto guardian of Northern Ireland economics interest in Brussels. So what happens if Johnson finally relents and brings it before Parliament? Put simply, it disintegrates. The DUP could never support it in its current form. The backstop not only necessitates customs and regulatory checks in the Irish Sea, but also exempts Northern Ireland from the UK's new commercial policy and trade deals. It produces an economically united Ireland, which they fear would eventually participate as a psychological united one as well. The DUP's hostility will also provoke serious consultation on the Tory backbenchers. It is, after all, named the Conservative and Unionist Party, and it is hard to see how they might back a deal in which Theresa May insisted, and Johnson agreed, that no British Prime Minister could ever accept it. It is not just the ERG who would rebel, more moderate Tories would also join the battle. Johnson therefore needs to bring over supporters from the other side of the House. So it is hard to see from where. The SNP, Lib Dems, Change, Plaid Cymru and the Greens, also with a few of the purged independent Tories, are not about to vote for any Brexit deal. The Labour leadership would likely only ever whip for one with a confirmatory referendum attached to it. There is a law effectively stopping a no-deal Brexit on the 31st of October, and several of the would-be Labour leavers would also feel far less pressured to back it. Who wants to tell their constituencies that they signed up to a Tory Brexit, saving Boris Johnson's skin for absolutely nothing in return? Johnson's woes would not end there. Faced with a May-style betrayal, the Brexit hardliners would also quickly move to demonstrate him. Steve Barker and his ERG colleagues owe Johnson no personal loyalty. They have no direct interest in seeing him remain as leader. Johnson could quickly face an internal vote of no confidence, probably at the same time as Jeremy Corbyn launched one in Parliament. Needless to say, Nigel Farage would enjoy every second of it, and capitalise on it in full in the ensuing election campaign. Perhaps the most hilarious aspect of the deal is that Parliament could support it, and they would still destroy the Prime Minister. The key is in the timetabling. Johnson and his arsonist sidekick, Dominic Cummings, thought they were being extremely clever when they prolonged Parliament to stop MPs blocking no deal, what in fact they did was stop Parliament approving any deal. Parliament now returns on October the 14th for the Queen's speech. 2 days of compulsory debate on that speech will follow. The day after, the EU summit will begin, ending on Friday, October the 18th. The Benin Act specifies that Parliament must approve a deal in a meaningful vote on October the 19th, or else Johnson must request an extension. When MPs are going to have the chance to approve anything, even if we assume that the Prime Minister returns on Friday waving a piece of paper, there is no time for Parliament to scrutinise the document, still less time to vote on it. Johnson could make the startling concession of a Northern Ireland only backstop, and it would still have to break his existing pledge not to seek a Brexit delay. As a morality tale, this man's premierships almost feels too on the nose. Johnson is quickly discovering that Brexit will ruin him just as it did both his predecessors. And how? He can't accept the current backstop. The Yellowhammer leaks mean he can't accept no deal. He has to seek a Brexit extension in all circumstances, even though he proclaimed he would rather die in a ditch. After weeks of catastrophic blunders and his own goals, he feels he is finally set to bury himself under the momentum of his own primal hubris. It would take the heart of stone not to laugh, and I'm laughing there already. So, yeah, Johnson is screwed at this point. He has absolutely no way out. He's dug himself into a corner. And quite frankly, there are ditches all over the UK for him to bury himself in at this point. So, and once again, all bets are off. So who knows what could have happened on Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday when this video goes out. As we know, Brexit is just a continuing roller coaster with absolutely no brakes. And there is going to be a crash eventually. As usual, we just don't know when the crash is going to happen. And as I said there, even if Johnson does come up and says, "Oh, I have to go with this Northern Irish only in the sea border idea," he will absolutely get you annihilated. It will just be, it will be game over. But it's game over already, I think. I really cannot see any political reality where Johnson might, it's very conceivable that he might not last the rest of the year. I very much think that could be a possibility. I mean, I've said before a couple of times, I wish I'd put money on some of these political outcomes. But you know what? There might be in fact, someone go and check on Paddy Power. Is it Paddy Power? Or it might be William Hill that does a lot of the political voting. What the odds are on Johnson surviving past this year. because I am very tempted to go out and put a fiver on Johnson not surviving past Christmas. Well, at least into January.